Rome and Carthage are two of the most powerful civilizations in history. They fought 3 times for dominance over the Mediterranean, but what if their conflict wasn't exactly as it seems? Did Rome and Carthage actually secretly team up and write history to erase a forgotten war that no one is supposed to remember? This is the Erased War. Ancient Rome and Carthage were not exactly friends. For centuries, they were bitter rivals who competed for influence in the Mediterranean. And then came the Punic Wars. The first war was sparked by the growing influence of Carthage in Spain. The Romans were wary of their eastern neighbor and wanted to bring them down. After 27 years of fighting, Rome won and took control of Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, and most of the western Mediterranean. But despite the peace treaty, Rome had a bone to pick with Carthage. They forced them to relocate their empire further east and pay heavy reparations. It all came to a head again in the Second Punic War when Hannibal crossed the Alps and invaded Italy. He may have lost the war, but he successfully tarnished Rome's reputation as invincible. Still, the Romans didn't wipe Carthage out like they did with Greece or Troy. Instead, they made them an offer. The treaty let them keep their empire, but they would become a Roman province if they couldn't pay back the reparations. Carthage reluctantly agreed. For decades, everything seemed fine. But deep within the Senate, there was a group known as the Carthaginians. They wanted Rome to invade Carthage once again. They convinced Cato the Elder to adopt a policy of keeping Rome forever at war. He was so successful that whenever Cato entered the Senate, he would always say, "Carthago delenda est," Carthage must be destroyed. His goal was to start another war so Rome could finally finish the job. And in 149 BC, the Third Punic War began. Rome accused them of harboring escaped slaves, while Carthage claimed it was a plot to steal their land. Either way, Rome sent in their general, Scipio Africanus, to deal with this threat once and for all. And he laid siege to the city for 3 years, and when it fell, he spared the citizens, confiscated their wealth, and sent them back to Italy as slaves. Once again, Rome had defeated Carthage, yet the Romans didn't learn from their mistakes. They didn't wipe Carthage off the map, and they didn't realize that they were making a huge mistake. In fact, if Rome really wanted to defeat Carthage, they should have done the exact same thing that Cato wanted them to do. By showing mercy to their enemies, Rome allowed Carthage to rebuild itself and start planning for a counterattack. After the Third War, the Carthaginians became a shadow of their former selves. But after a century of peace, they grew again and built a new navy. The Romans noticed and ordered them to disband their fleet. Carthage refused, and the Romans got angry. They attacked and seized several of their ships. This led to a small skirmish, but the war never escalated. However, someone still wanted to destroy Carthage, and it wasn't even Roman. It was the king of Numidia. He asked Rome to help him conquer Carthage and punish them for siding with his enemies. With Rome's support, he marched on Carthage and forced them to surrender. Rome took full control of the city and abolished it as an independent state. Now, you might think that this is where the story ends, but it doesn't. There's one more chapter in this tale of revenge. It's hard to imagine that such a great civilization like the Carthaginians would just disappear into thin air. They were extremely wealthy, well-organized, and adapted well to changing circumstances. So why don't we hear about them in modern history? Why does everyone forget about them? We know that the Romans wrote most of our history books, but how reliable are they? We can't be sure because most of their accounts are missing. We don't have any written records of the early Republic or the first few Punic Wars. We also don't have many records of Carthage or their perspective. Most of what we know comes from Polybius, a Greek historian who lived in Rome during the Second Punic War. He wrote extensively about Carthage and its military strategy. But if you want to read his work, good luck. It's not available anywhere. Most of our knowledge comes from Livy, a Roman historian who wrote about the rise of Rome and its greatest battles. But there's a problem. His account of the Third Punic War is completely different from Polybius. Livy said that the Romans showed mercy to Carthage, but other historians proved that they were ruthless. The reason behind this discrepancy is unknown, but it proves that we can't trust ancient historians 100%. So what if we missed something? What if there's evidence of the erased war somewhere else? Surprisingly, yes, there is. The truth is that Rome and Carthage had a secret pact. If you thought that they hated each other, then think again. In reality, they secretly teamed up to rewrite history and get rid of anyone who knew about the pact. That's why we can't find any evidence of the erased war. It was never recorded. But what if someone left behind a clue? What if we found a piece of evidence that proved Rome and Carthage were working together? Well, we might have already found that too. During excavations in Carthage, archaeologists found a coin with the head of Ashtart, the patron goddess of Carthage, and the head of Roma, the goddess of Rome. The coin dates back to 300 BC, which means it's older than the Punic Wars. It shows that these two civilizations respected each other long before the wars and were willing to unite against common enemies. But what does that mean? Could there be more clues hidden in plain sight? Some scholars suggest that Rome and Carthage may have worked together to end the First Punic War. The Romans had no navy and were losing badly until the brilliant Roman general, Gaius Duilius, captured a Carthaginian warship called the Adalia. He studied their navy and created the first Roman warships. But where did he get the idea? Maybe he stole it from Carthage. The Romans used their new ships to win the war and take control of the Mediterranean. In the Second War, Hannibal's elephants terrorized the Italian peninsula. Rome had no defense, so they turned to Carthage for help. According to legend, Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal, was on his way to help him, but he encountered Gaius, the same general who designed Rome's first navy. Gaius ambushed Hasdrubal, executed him, and threw his head off the top of the Capitoline Hill. Whether the story is true or not, it shows that Rome had no problem working with Carthage to achieve their goals. As for the Third War, we already know that Cato wanted to destroy Carthage, but he died in 149 BC, right when the war started. Many believe that he was assassinated for trying to start another war. Whoever killed him probably knew about the secret pact between Rome and Carthage and wanted to expose it. To make matters worse, Rome faced political turmoil during this time. The Third Punic War almost bankrupted the Republic. The treasury was empty, so the leaders decided to redistribute the wealth of their enemies. But this decision was so unpopular that the treasury stayed empty. As for Carthage, they simply disappeared. But the mystery doesn't end there. It's hard to believe that such an advanced civilization just vanished without a trace. But maybe they didn't. Some scholars believe that the Carthaginians integrated with the Romans and became Roman citizens. After all, they were already speaking Latin and following Roman customs. And who knows, maybe some of them were related to Julius Caesar or Augustus. Maybe the Romans kept their promise to spare Carthage, but maybe they broke their promise and started a genocide. Either way, we will never know the truth. The erased war is one of history's biggest mysteries, and it will remain unsolved. Rome and Carthage may have been sworn enemies, but they both valued power, wealth, and military strength. That's why they could have easily put aside their differences and made a deal. It would have been mutually beneficial for both sides and helped them achieve their goals. And who knows, maybe they even planned to conquer the world together. If you like this video, check out other videos about ancient Rome and Carthage. Now leave a comment about the most mysterious ancient civilization in the comments below. Is it the Sumerians, Indus Valley, Minoans, or someone else? And don't forget to subscribe and follow for more videos like this. Thank you and goodbye.